Okay, Mr. Chair, we are good to go when you are.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder that everyone turn off or silence all cell phones and electronic devices. This is a hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Thorold for Thursday, June 15th, 2023. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to speak for or against the applications being heard. When given a chance to speak, you will have 5 minutes, so please make sure to be as clear and consistent as possible. Please address all your comments and questions through the chair. For your information, Committee of Adjustment is a public process. Personal information such as the applicant's name and property address, which is reported at a Committee of Adjustment meeting, is public information. Minutes of this Committee of Adjustment meeting will be received by Thorold City Council at a public council meeting and become part of the public record. A copy of the decision will be sent to the applicant or agent and to any person who files a written request. Please write your name, address, and the file you are here for in the Zoom text box or in the piece of paper located in the council chambers. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. The Committee of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial body operating under the Planning Act, the Municipal Act, and the Statutory Powers Procedure Act, as well as various provincial regulations. Sections 45 and 50 of the Planning Act outline the circumstances surrounding the approval of minor variances and controlling the conveyance of land in Ontario and the prevention of subdivision on land except with governmental approval. Any person, corporation, or public body has the right to appeal either the consent decision or the conditions to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the mailing of the notice of decision. Any person, corporation, or public body has the right to appeal a minor variance decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal, again within 20 days of the decision. I would ask the clerk to read the land acknowledgement at this time, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The City of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wendoronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The City of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Does any member of this panel have a pecuniary interest in any of the applications to be considered at this hearing?
No, Mr. Chair.
Mr. DiPaolo?
Not a pecuniary interest, but a conflict.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, just please remember to use your microphone.
Thank you. Yes, just to declare a possible perceived conflict of interest on the one for Honey Locust, as I reside on that street.
So that's
7.3, I think it is.
D1311, Honey Locust?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So noted. Mr. Pizzo?
He's a neighbor of mine around the corner. Is that, I'll declare it.
I think it's, if you're concerned at all, declare the conflict. Anyone else? Seeing none. May I have a motion from the committee that the agenda be adopted as presented? Moved by Mr. DeAngelo, seconded by Mr. Daniels. All in favor? Thank you. The minutes are not available, is that right, Mr. Clerk?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. They'll be brought to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
I don't know why the minutes haven't been delivered to us.
I can't answer that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just unfortunately due to staffing levels and the ability to complete them, they are just not completed at this time. We can certainly circulate them before the next meeting so everybody can have a chance to read them, but they won't be on the agenda for adoption until the next meeting.
Thank you.
Well, it could matter, the fellow reviewed this decision, he's got 20 days to appeal, we don't even know if it's appealed. I just think the minutes should be here at our meeting.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, was notice given as required by the Planning Act?
Yes, sir, it was.
Thank you. Are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournment?
No, there are not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Application D 1308, 2023, 29 Elvira Way. Well, there you are, Nicolette. I thought you were going to be here.
Yes, but I'm on Zoom.
Yes, you are.
Maybe, perhaps the next meeting I will try to attend in person. But good morning, everyone.
Welcome.
My name is Nicolette, as you know. I prepared the staff reports for today's meeting, and for item number 1 on the agenda, 29 Elvira Way. It is an application for a minor variance requesting relief from site-specific zoning bylaw 2021-100 requesting relief from the R1D-9 zone to permit a rear yard addition that would encroach into the rear yard. The rear yard requirement is 7 meters, and they're asking for a relief to 5.46 meters. The lands are located in the north end of Uppers Lane, just east of Barker Parkway in the Rolling Meadows Secondary Planning Area. They are proposed to be developed with a single detached dwelling, and the covered deck will encroach into the rear yard. The property is currently vacant and intended to be developed. The lands are designated residential with a greenfield overlay in the City of Thorold official plan. There was a survey sketch prepared and attached into the report. Our recommendation, the property is designated urban living area. We are of the opinion that it meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act. The general intent and purpose of the official plan is being maintained. All other requirements of the zoning bylaw are being met. The general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is being maintained. It is considered to be minor. It is a covered addition to the rear of the property. In planning staff's opinion, the variance is appropriate for the development of the lot, as there will be no adverse impacts anticipated, and the variance is considered to be minor. We have no comments, no adverse comments from other agencies, and no comments from any neighboring property owners as of the writing of this report, and therefore we recommend approval of the application as submitted.
Thank you. Who speaks on behalf of this application, please, if you could identify yourself? Is there anyone present, either virtually or in person? I see none. Questions or comments from the committee? Mr. Pizzo?
It will not be an
Pardon me,
enclosed
just
porch,
from-
Nicolette?
Just a reminder, Mr. Pizzo, to please use your microphone for those online.
What's that?
You use your microphone, please.
The microphone's on.
Excellent. Nicolette, we have no confirmation that this will be, will not be an enclosed room.
No, we do not have that, but we do have drawings submitted that just show it as a covered rear yard addition. So basically a deck with a roof structure. It seems to be more of a common addition to existing to new development. So we're going to see more and more of these.
Mr. Chairman.
Kind of like a one season room. Sometimes they're screened in, sometimes they're just open on the sides. I believe this one, the diagrams show it open on the sides. It's basically like a rear yard porch with it's just covered.
Thank you, Nicolette. Mr.
I'll
Pizzo?
move the acceptance of the planner's report and put it on the floor. Make a motion to put it on the floor.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Mr. DiPaolo. Further questions, comments? Mr. D'Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's just more of a general question. as as it was mentioned by the planner, that this is gonna be more of a common occurrence. So when the buildings are designed, I'm assuming that at the building permit stage, they'll pick it up if it's gonna be an enclosed, enclosed porch, or if it's just gonna be open. I'm sure it will, at that point in time, will the city know what they're dealing with? Like I guess my question is, this will be attached to part of the file when it goes for a building permit purpose. At that point in time, it'll say that it's an open concept, not a closed porch? Is that where it's picked up? Maybe if some,
What we're dealing with today is an uncovered porch, so I would say that if they close it in and turn it into a room, then it doesn't, Nicolette, you're nodding?
I would tend to agree with you. We're dealing today with what was submitted, and it is basically a roof structure on an exterior outdoor area, open. So it's not a four-season addition, what we're dealing with here today. And my understanding would be that if they were to apply for a building permit that would be anything other than that, they would find themselves back at the committee.
okay, that answers my question. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. D'Angelo. Further questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Granted. Thank you. D1006, 2023, 23 George Street. Nicolette, back to you.
Thank you. In this instance, we have a request for a consent application to create a new lot for the purposes of a residential development. There are some variances attached to the request for the consent, requiring relief from provision 7.2A to reduce the minimum lot area of the severed parcel from 550 meters squared to 412 meters squared. Relief from provision 7.2 to reduce the minimum lot area of the retained parcel from 550 to 486 meters squared. Relief from provision 7.2C to reduce the front yard setback of the retained parcel from 7.5 meters to 6.6 meters. And relief from provision 7.2D to reduce the rear yard setback of the retained parcel from 7.5 meters to 3.35 meters. Second here. The lands are located located at the northeast intersection of George Street and Dufferin Avenue, just east of River Street within the Port Robinson East Special Policy Area Land Use Plan. One new lot for a single detached residence is proposed. The retained parcel contains an existing single detached dwelling that is intended to remain. The newly created parcel is intended to be developed with the new single detached dwelling. The existing retained lot will require the minor variances as indicated. A side yard, a reduction in the lot area and side yard, as well as a reduction in the lot area for the severed parcel. The lands are zoned R1A under zoning bylaw 2140-97. A proposed severance sketch was provided, and I will reiterate that although there are reductions in the rear yard for the existing dwelling, it does have an amenity space in the side yard. So basically it's a situation where we've got an existing lot, but because of the creation of the new lot, the rear yard gets shifted to the side yard for the existing dwelling. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. Sorry. The lands are designated as urban living area in the city's official plan. And staff is of the opinion that the proposed consent facilitates the creation of an additional lot is appropriate and in keeping with the intent of the official plan. Meaning that the lots front on an existing public road, they utilize existing municipal services and do not cause any negative impacts in terms of traffic or drainage. The lands are also located within the Port Robinson East Special Policy Area. And there are some policies that stipulate that new lots within the Port Robinson East Special Policy Area respect the existing character and built form of the Port Robinson Special Policy Area and shall maintain minimum lot areas and frontages that are comparable to adjacent residential lots. In this regard, the lots requesting a minor reduction in lot area accommodate dwellings that are in keeping with neighborhood properties. It is my opinion that the variances proposed are in general that meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act, and that they meet the general intent and purpose of the official plan of Thorold. In addition, the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is being maintained. As mentioned previously, the 7.5 meter rear yard will be provided in the side yard for the existing dwelling. And all other requirements of the zoning bylaw are being maintained. Sufficient outdoor amenity space can be accommodated on both the severed and retained parcels. Therefore, the minor variance is considered to be minor. There were no adverse comments from any of the building department. Engineering division just mentioned that the lots have to have separate municipal services and a new curb cut. So it is my recommendation that the consent and minor variances be approved subject to the conditions as listed in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Planner. Who speaks on behalf of this application, please? If you could identify yourself.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name's Christopher Lamb from Newcastle Communities. I'm an agent for the owner. However, I'm not a planning consultant. I'm a builder and looking to sever this lot for my own home.
Thank you, Christopher. Go ahead if you have any comments.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. I do apologize. I didn't know that we could actually come to City Hall or I would be there. Is there a possibility, if I share my screen briefly, will you be able to see that anywhere in the room or?
Mr. Clerk?
One moment, Christopher, we'll just set that up for you.
Thank you.
You should be able to share now.
Perfect. Let me give it a try here. Okay. So you'll see my main monitor right now, and as I'm going through these, I'll drag them into the screen. Can everybody see this okay somewhere or another?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Christopher. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is page 5 on the planning report that City of Thorold was generous enough to put together. This follows the survey sketch. The survey sketch is quite accurate. I just wanted to identify that the picture of this house has since been demolished. It sat a little closer to the center line of the lot. It's since been removed, and I had assisted in the general contracting of a new dwelling for a David and Taylor Flanagan. So I'm going to now take, is that clear what I just said?
Yes, it is, Christopher. Go ahead.
Okay, now I'm going to go to my planning justification report. This is located on page 3. So again, the older dwelling was a little closer to the center line. This has been shifted now to the north of these two, the existing lot and the possibly proposed lot. Again, 3 of the minor variances, unfortunately, are not there. They have to do with the existing dwelling. That's how they exist. The only variance that I would be going for the new potentially proposed lot is the overall lot area. If you would like to refer to the severance sketch, there is still sufficient, or I believe to be sufficient, rear yard space, front yard space, plenty of side yard space on the outside corner here. And then, of course, we give the daylight corner. Lastly, I had submitted 4 letters of support from the closest neighbor on the east, the west, and the south. Did you receive those, Nicolette, or committee members?
Were they included in your report?
I had submitted them to Angela before the deadline she gave me, which was in and around the first week of June.
Okay, I'm unsure if they were part of the package.
Okay, it's all right. In any case, I won't specifically rely on them. Please take my word. They were submitted by email, and they were confirmed that they were submitted by Angela. Though, again, those are the 4 closest neighbors. They've all been there for about 20 years. The home that I'm looking to build would, again, I am a builder. This one happens to be from myself. 2-story dwelling, it's transitional, but it's not too modern. I strongly believe it's fitting in the neighborhood. Those letters of support explain that more or less they would be happy with the infill opportunity, as we can kind of see the corner lot. I don't think by any means I'm squeezing it in or I think there's quite sufficient space on this corner parcel right here. That's all I have in addition to the PJR. If there's anything specifically in the report that you'd like me to refer to, please feel free to ask.
Thank you, Christopher. Questions or comments from the committee members?
I might just have a question.
Mr. Pizzo, go ahead.
Letters of support, where were they sent?
I had emailed them to Angela, like I said, I believe about 10 days ago, and she confirmed 9, I'll find the exact day. What I can do, they were sent on June 7th here and confirmed on June 8th. What I can do really briefly, I can bring them up, the sign letters on my screen.
Do you want to see the letters?
No, I don't want to see the letters. I just want to.
We're fine, Christopher, with that.
Okay with that.
We're going to take your word for it. You look like an honest man.
Yeah, and in any case, they are here, like I said, they're on the city record, and I am confident those are the 3 closest neighboring properties.
Thank you, Christopher. Further questions or comments from the committee? Mr. DiPaolo.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just a question around to the applicant. The tax division says there's outstanding taxes to be paid. Is it normal for us to receive consideration for variance and severance when there's outstanding taxes?
Christopher?
I wasn't aware, but I'm more than happy to pay them immediately.
So, Mr. Chair, again, through you, any support of this, could we make it conditional that we make sure that those taxes are certainly up to date?
Good idea. Thank you, Mr. DiPaolo.
It's always a condition of severance, so the consent won't go through until the taxes are paid.
Thank you, Nicolette.
Can I also interject just on
Go ahead.
the variances being requested then? So I guess what you're indicating is that the severance sketch provided doesn't accurately reflect, and my report then does not accurately reflect that the minor variance is being requested, or?
No, the severance sketch is in its entirety accurate. All of the parcels, give me 1 sec, I'll scroll down there. It was just the photo that was used in the report was from Google Maps. So I was just saying, it might appear on the report that the house is a little centralized, but it's actually, the new dwelling is moved over.
Okay, my apologies. And when I did do the site visit, I was just a little bit turned around because I was expecting to see the older
Right.
dwelling.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. So like I
because
said,
I think the severance sketch says existing dwelling.
yeah, yeah. So sorry. Existing, mean it's existing now, but like I said, just the picture was dated on probably wherever you had it from. So again, here's the existing dwelling that I had the drone shot of, and again, here's my proposed dwelling.
Okay.
Okay. Further questions, comments? Seeing none?
I'll make the motion
Follow?
to put it on the floor that we move forward with the granting of the severance.
The three together, or is that what you're doing?
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I think that so there's 3 on the existing and 1 on the newly proposed.
Thank you, Christopher. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'll move.
Mr. Jackson? Further questions or comments? Seeing none? All in favor of the motions? Thank you.
Hello, John. Can I have just one question?
Of course, sorry.
Will there be a condition that the taxes be paid before the severance is granted? Is that correct?
I believe so.
It's, Mr. Chair, it's recommendation number 4 on page 2 of the report.
Yes. Okay? Okay, good. Thank you. Next application is D 1311, 24 Honey Locust Circle. Anyone declaring a conflict should probably say goodbye. That's fine. Thank you, Mr. DiPaolo. Madam Planner, at your leisure.
Thank you. So here again, we have an application for a minor variance to permit the construction of a covered patio at the rear of the existing dwelling. These lands are located in the west neighborhood. It is residential first density WN-R1B in accordance with zoning bylaw 2140-97. In this instance, the issue, the minor variance requested is for the lot coverage. Lot coverage requirement in this zone is 35%, and the addition will bring this to 39%, and accordingly, the minor variance. So yes, we are located in what is known as the west neighborhood. The property is designated urban living area within the city's official plan. So the 4 tests of the minor variance, the general intent and purpose of the official plan is being maintained. The proposed development respects the character of the neighborhood. It is an established residential neighborhood and is compatible with the scale and density of existing development. The proposed variance would allow for the addition, and there are no negative impacts to the existing neighborhood. The general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is also being maintained. Again, the variance is considered to be minor, requesting lot coverage from 35 to 39%. So in our opinion, there were no agency concerns, and the applications are recommended for approval. The application is recommended for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Planner. Who speaks on behalf of this application, please, if you could identify yourself?
I'm here. My name is David Fleming. I'm the homeowner.
Okay, you're on Zoom, are you, David?
Yes, I am.
We need to see your face, or
Sorry. I'm trying to set it up. Sorry.
that's okay. David,
There
you
we
go
are.
ahead with your report. Oh, there you are.
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Go ahead, David.
So, Mr. Chairman and committee, the intention of this is just to add a covered patio, covered structure to our existing patio, and just to extend the seasons that we can enjoy our backyard.
Thank you, David, and it's not to be enclosed, just a covered patio as
Yes,
presented.
it's just covered.
Thank you. Mr. D'Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion at the appropriate time, but I do have a question to our planning staff. It seems like it's more consistent that we're getting these covered porch requests on a regular basis. Is there something in the Planning Act or something that could be amended in the planning to allow for a certain percentage that it just automatically could be done? I use an example like a shed. If you build a 10 by 10 shed, you don't need a minor variance. You can just go ahead and do it. Is there something that can be allowed so that in future, individuals who want to add a covered porch might be allowed like 5% of the backyard or something like that, so that they don't always have to come to the Committee of Adjustments?
I hope that they don't do that, because then we'll be out of a job. Go ahead, Nicolette, go ahead.
I think in this instance, though, it would be something to consider going forward with the new zoning bylaw. So we're kind of, as we go through these applications and see, like, there's always changes in styles of development, et cetera, and what is appropriate. Yes, yesterday was made, or today is appropriate, wasn't appropriate yesterday, et cetera. So I think it's one of these things that we've kind of made a notation of, that when the new bylaw 2019-51 is in place for residential development, is something that we should look at, because it's a bit of a waste of everyone's time to go through these minor variances for such a small matter. So definitely there is a mechanism. I think we need to address it in your new zoning bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like that answer, that some review will be done onto the C and move forward with that. I'm not looking for an answer right now. So the fact that it's been sort of earmarked is excellent. So I'll make a motion at the appropriate time once the committee's done asking questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. D'Angelo. Mr. Pizzo.
I don't agree with Nicolette that these minor variances should be thrown out because they're close. Close only happens in horseshoes.
Horseshoes.
And your porch is okay if you're okay within the envelope of the lot. So
Thank you.
I'm with you, John. I don't believe they should be.
Thank you.
Close counts.
Further questions, comments? Seeing none?
So,
Mr. D'Angelo.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that application D13-11-2023 be approved based on the review of the pertinent information and comments presented at this hearing, having conducted a site visit and for the reasons stated in the planning report. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Seconder? Mr. Jackson. Further questions, comments? Seeing none? All in favor of the motion? Thank you. Granted, Mr. Fleming. Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
On to D13-12-2023, 88, 87, and 86 Mary Street. Madam Planner.
Thank you. Yes, we have an application before us for a minor variance to permit an added use of 4 street townhouse dwellings in the current R2 residential second density zone, applying to the lands under zoning bylaw 2140-97. The following variances from the regulations are also required to accommodate the development of the lands for street townhouses fronting Mary Street. Section 11.1, the inclusion of townhouse as a permitted use. Relief from section 11.2.1A to provide a lot area of 182.8 meters square for a street townhouse dwelling and a minimum lot area for an end unit of 287.4 square meters. Relief from section 11.2.1B to provide a lot frontage of 6 meters per dwelling unit for a street townhouse dwelling and a minimum lot frontage for an end unit of 9.43 meters. The lands are located on the south side of Mary Street between Pilkington Street and Taylor Street. They comprise a total lot area of 836 meters square with frontage on both Mary Street and Pilkington Street. The property is intended to be developed by Habitat for Humanity Niagara with 4 attainable street townhouse dwelling units that will front Mary Street. The residential second density R2 zoning is currently applying to the lands. The proposed reductions in the lot areas and frontages are in keeping with lot area and frontage requirements for the R3 zone. The R3 residential third density zone does permit townhouse dwellings. So we are looking at the regulations of the R3 zone to determine what is appropriate for the lands for a townhouse dwelling. The R2 zone, however, does not permit townhouses. However, Section 45 of the Planning Act does permit an addition of use as a minor variance under the Planning Act. So do the variances meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act? The property is designated urban living area within the city's official plan, which does permit townhouse dwellings. The additional variances are considered minor. The proposed variance is to allow the street townhouse use with reduced lot area location and infilling in an established neighborhood that contains a variety of low-rise residential dwelling built forms. Therefore, it is our opinion that the requested variance to permit the townhouse use would maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan. The general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is being maintained. The R2 zone permits single detached dwellings and accessory buildings, however, does not permit townhouse dwellings. The proposed variance to permit the proposed use for street townhouses with reduced lot area and frontage requirements are in compliance with the requirements of the R3 zone, which does permit townhouse dwellings. As such, we are of the opinion that the requested variances would maintain the general intent and purposes of the zoning bylaw. In staff's opinion, the variances are also appropriate for the development of the lot, as there are no adverse impacts anticipated. Are the variances minor? The variances requested would add the new use. Again, this is a gentle intensification in an area that will have no impact on adjacent properties or the existing neighborhood. The proposed lot sizes and frontages meet the requirements of the R3 zone where townhouses are permitted. We don't have any adverse comments from any of the internal departments. Niagara Region has requested that a stage 1 archaeological assessment be completed. And at the time of writing of the report, there were no neighborhood concerns, but in the interim, in the last day or so, we have received one residential letter. I can read the letter if that's appropriate.
Nicolette, we've all read it, but I would like your comments on it, please.
Okay, so, you know, my understanding of the letter is that there would be a preference to see single detached. As mentioned, this is an application from Habitat for Humanity. So they are doing their best to create attainable housing. We did go through a pre-consultation process with them. And so it was definitely thought through whether this property could support single detached homes or townhouse development, and it was deemed that it would be more appropriate and more efficient to allow 4 townhouses rather than 3 single detached, and that it would be more in the best interest of Habitat for Humanity to allow the additional unit and thereby making the units more attainable. So the other concern that was raised was that the houses are older in the neighborhood and vulnerable to water leakage and drainage problems. This is something that will be addressed as the development goes through the process of obtaining a building permit, and they will be required to provide drainage and grading plans that will have to meet the city's requirements so that these issues are addressed. There is also a tree at 142 Mary Street. Again, this is something that will be addressed, that will, as part of the building permit approval, if the tree has to come down, if it meets the city's requirements for tree removal, then there's not a whole lot that can be done. I'm not sure exactly where that tree is located. But again, it's something that gets addressed through the building permit process. Those are all my comments relating to the letter provided.
Thank you, Madam Planner. Who speaks on behalf of this application, please? If you could come to the podium and identify yourself, please.
Hi, Mr. Chair. Thank you for having me today. I'm Adam Moot. I work for Land Pro Planning Solutions on behalf of Habitat for Humanity. With me today, I also have Mark, who's the CEO of Habitat for Humanity, and Elizabeth, who is the construction manager for Habitat for Humanity.
Welcome.
I would like to mention, we did not receive that letter, so, pardon me, any questions related to that, I would not be able to answer. I haven't read it. So I am happy to answer any other questions with respect to the report in front of us. And I think either Elizabeth or Mark would be happy to answer any questions as it pertains to the development as well.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I have a
Mr.
question.
Pizzo, go ahead.
My question is, it's zoned R2 right now. Nicolette, is that right?
That is correct.
And you're saying it should be zoned R3 to move ahead, right?
No, we're saying that we are leaving it zoned R2.
Well, it says here that the city recommends that the zoning be changed through a minor variance due to the charitable nature of the development. What do you mean by that?
Sorry, what page are you referring to?
Well, I've got Mr. Jackson's page. The pages, I have to ask the clerk, why is the online versus the one we get different?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't know what page you're holding or where it was printed from. I can say what is circulated by Angela is what gets uploaded into our eScribe portion, and that's what's made public. Those are just the planning reports only. If that came from from a planning application or from a separate email, that would not be published online. The only thing published online is the planning report that is provided by Nicolette through our planning department.
He's got all the information. Why is it different on the online versus what we get when we pick them up?
What you received previously is what you get through the applications. A lot of that can contain confidential or personal information of the applicant, and that information is never published. The applications are separate from the planning report, which reviews the application and provides the planning opinion on the matter.
I'll show it to you after the meeting.
Thank you.
Nicolette, it says a pre-consultation meeting was held on June the 2nd, 2022, which confirmed this approach to the proposed development. The R2 zone does not permit townhouses and therefore does not contain regulations of provisions to guide townhouse use. Therefore, this is the important part. Therefore, to aid the committee in its decision, as applied, you're asking to be moved to a R3. That the committee of adjustment move it to an R3.
Where the applicant is requesting that the use of the townhouse be added to the R2 zone as a minor variance. That is permitted under the Planning Act, under Section 45 of the Planning Act. Minor variance can also be a change of, or an addition of a use, as long as it complies with the requirements of the official plan, which in this case it does.
I'd like to ask the clerk then, can you move a zoning from R2 to R3? That's with the Committee of Adjustment?
You'd have to ask somebody in planning.
Well, I thought the rezoning always had to be done on council. We have a counselor here. Do you know?
Again, we have planners that are the expert on this, and from my understanding of how she answered it, it can be done through a minor variance.
Nicolette, is Mr. D'Angelo accurate in his assessment?
That is correct. It's something that we do all the time in Waterloo Region. A change of use can be permitted as a minor variance as long as it meets the requirements of the city's official plan. And in this case, townhouses are permitted in the urban living area. It's minor because it's going from single detached to townhouse. So it is not being rezoned to R3 per se. It is R2 with a minor variance to permit the townhouse use. This is something that is permitted under the Planning Act.
So it's staying at R2, you're saying?
Correct.
That's hard to believe.
I can read the section of the Planning Act for minor variance.
My question is, why do they go to council for rezoning? You might as well just come to the Committee of Adjustment for $1,500 rather than go through that rigmarole for a zoning change to council.
Well, it's very circumstantial in certain instances, like in this case where it's very straightforward and very simple. That's the approach. However, when it's more complicated and does not fall under the category of meeting the requirements of the official plan, or there's something else in there. As you know, every application is individual and has individual circumstances. In this case, the application of Section 45 of the Planning Act seemed appropriate. I can read the section. The Committee of Adjustment, let's just read the right section. Upon the application of the owner of any land, building, or structure affected by any bylaw that is passed under section, just one second here. Under section 45(1) sub 3, a council that has constituted a Committee of Adjustment may by bylaw empower the Committee of Adjustment to grant minor variances from the provisions of any bylaw of the municipality that implements an official plan.
Well, it's something new to me.
Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just reading it. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, here we go. So the committee can authorize such minor variance from the provisions of the bylaw in respect of the land, building, or structure, or the use thereof, as in its opinion is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land, building, or structure. So the key word here is in respect of the land, building, or structure, or the use thereof, as in its opinion is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land.
I have no problem with the application. It's just something new. I've never seen this before.
Yes. And it is something that's being done more and more in, to sort of assist and reduce costs for development. And in this case, it seemed very appropriate. It's an intensification. It changes the ability of the lands to be developed for 3 single detached residences to 4 townhouse units. It's Habitat for Humanity. They're trying to provide attainable housing. So it seemed appropriate.
Thank you, Madam Planner. Mr. Daniels.
My only concern, like I drove the neighborhood. I've been through that neighborhood for a long time. Updated photos in our documents would be great, because when you drive through that neighborhood, it's Pilkington Street is fully developed now. If it's not a brand new house, the house is for sale. I'm just wondering if this leaves the door open for the next person purchasing a house within that area to do the same. Because the only other townhouses I saw in the neighborhood, I believe it was McCann Street on the other side of McAdam Park.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Further questions or comments? Chair is open to motions. Mr. Jackson.
Upon review of the pertinent information and comments presented this hearing and having conducted a site visit, I make a motion that this application be approved.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Do we have a seconder, please? Need a seconder. Okay, that motion is moot. Gentlemen, motion to go the other way then. What's the issue, folks?
That's a question.
Mr. Daniels.
My issue is just is what it is. I mean, if we give I understand Habitat for Humanity is trying to do best for the city and best for, people obtaining obtainable housing, but I just don't want to see it open, because if you drive the neighborhood, like I said, it's either a brand new house or the house is for sale. So obviously, if the people in the neighborhood are selling their houses with all the new houses going up, I mean, and we have comments and concerns and letters coming from residents in the neighborhood. For me, I just that's sort of where where I want to leave it as. I mean,
We need to keep in mind that these are separate entities, these applications, right? This doesn't set precedent. We're not allowed to set precedents.
Well, I have to agree with Mr. Daniels. I'm concerned about the zoning. I want to look up this 45. I'd like to see it. It should have been presented to us.
Then motion to deny. Chair can't make a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd actually recommend that if it get put on the floor, that the committee defeat the motion or refer it rather than a motion to actually deny it.
We don't have a seconder for the motion.
No motion.
That's my recommendation to the committee, not just generally speaking.
Yeah, that's a good recommendation, but we need a seconder for Mr. Jackson's motion, which we don't have. Mr. D'Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, I know there's a lot of concerns on this, but I know we need to work with Habitat for Humanity to make attainable housing in our community. I have some parking issues, and there's a few other little issues. Is this
Go ahead.
something we could defer back to the planner and come back with some additional information, so the committee can make a better decision? Because it seems right now it's not moving forward in a good direction for Habitat for Humanity, yet we want to move forward with this. My concern, like I said, is it moving to an R2, it really reduces parking. And this is not part of a community that has accessibility to like a grocery store, to public transit that runs on a daily, like on a regular basis to move people around. So when I'm looking at this, the zoning change really impacts the frontage, right? So you're going down to six to the 6 meters or to the 6 meters. When you don't, because from the diagrams, it looks like there's only really one parking spot per townhouse. And I know in the past, we'll pass something here, but then when it gets translated to the actual drawings, the whole front yard is then paved over, and there's no green space anywhere, and it leads to some of the other issues, because this is an area of our community that has had water infiltration issues. And as mentioned, there's been a lot of new development there that adds to that problem. So there's a bunch of little things that are adding up that's causing some issues here. So I just don't want to deny it. I think that if we could refer it back, not that I spoke on it, I can't really do that, but if we can refer it back and maybe they can look through this in a little bit more detail to answer some of the questions before we just flatly say no. Because the other option then is we're gonna be sending them to council and they're gonna look for a rezoning at council. So those are some of the issues I have, Mr. Chair, so I'm looking for.
Did I
some
hear
sort
a
of-
motion for deferral in your comments?
Yeah, I definitely, but I don't know if it's the same rules as council. Once you speak on it, you can't defer it, so, and I think we all spoke on it, but if there's.
Yeah, we're just gonna say, I think we all
But
did.
if we can, maybe if we could send it, if you're allowing, Mr. Chair, if I could defer this for a little bit more information, a little bit more clarity, before we outright say no to it, because it doesn't seem like it's gonna pass the way it is, so.
Motion for the deferral is non-debatable.
I would recommend a deferral because I want to have a look at section 45 also, and I'm not happy with the zoning change.
All in favor of the motion to defer till next month's meeting? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. We'll see you next month.
See you next month. Thank you.
I know, I feel so bad, but.
Nicolette, we'll see you next month too.
Yes, thank you. I will endeavor to make that one in person. Just
Excellent.
had other commitments for today in Waterloo Region. Thank you.
Look forward to it.
Yeah,
Mr.
bye-bye.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman, is there a
Mr.
planner?
Pizzo?
Are you a planner? Is she a planner?
No,
We don't have a planner in the.
not in the building. Other business. Mr. Pizzo, Ms. Nesbitt and I attended a meeting yesterday on property standards, something we haven't had a meeting on in about 20 years. Ms. Nesbitt has packages for anyone interested. It's basically the presentation yesterday, so I won't waste time on that. You'll pick up your package later. Is there any new business anybody wants to discuss?
I would just like to say, I'd like to know why things have seemed so different lately. I don't know what's going on, but the information he got and the information I got are different.
It is Mr. Jackson's information from the application, which we got a month ago?
That's correct, John.
Yeah.
The email that Ann sends me with all the applicants on it,
Yes.
I pull up each individual address. Under that address, there's usually 4 to 6 headings of different issues. One is the actual application, another one would be the sketch, and then it goes into archaeological researches, things of that nature. And that's where I'm getting this information.
As the clerk sort of said, there's a lot of confidential information in those initial packages that we get.
His package spells it out better than this.
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that later. We have a couple of new faces this morning. Nicholas and Ms. D'Amico, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourselves and tell us what your roles are?
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicholas DeBono. I am the new deputy clerk. Started last Monday, so happy to be here at my first Committee of Adjustment meeting for the City of Thorold, and looking forward to future ones.
Welcome, Nicholas. Ms. D'Amico.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley D'Amico. I've joined the Planning Department as Development Coordinator. So my role is to assist in moving applications through the process and sort of taking administrative tasks from planners when we do staff our team more fully. So I'm here just to shadow Ms. Nesbitt and learn about how her role is in the committee. Thank you.
Welcome, Ashley. Anything else, gentlemen? To the clerk.
Just one comment from a past other business item. I know there was a request for badges. I believe IT is prepared today to take photos of the members to allow you to get your badges created. So if you want to stick around for just a few minutes after, once we adjourn, we'll bring him in and we'll get that done.
Those of us with the badges from the past, do we want?
I believe those would be fine, but if you'd like an updated one, we can do that.
Thank you. Mr. D'Angelo.
I guess it depends on the picture, so. Just another comment, I know we had some issues with this in the past, but are we in schedule to issue stipends on a semi-annual schedule?
Yeah, we usually do, after this meeting, actually.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure, because I know last year there was an issue, and like I said, some.
I know, we need the money.
Well, no, there's some incorrect tracking. I didn't get paid for one of the months that I attended, but, and there was back and forth emails, so I'm not going back in the past, but I'd like to just make sure that we're scheduled online going forward, so that there's no
Yeah.
issue.
We should be getting it at, who do I talk to, Ashley or?
Through you,
Angie?
Mr. Chair, that is through me. Last year I wasn't here at this time, so there was, and staff wasn't aware of all the required steps for it. But I do have in my notes after today's meeting to start the process to have the stipends done, excuse me. And they should be available and sent out to you by mid-July, so in a couple of weeks, if not sooner, depending on the workload.
Excellent. I'm just glad we're back on track, because I know that some of these procedures were sort of sidestepped only because of some of the staffing changes. And again,
Yeah.
now that Angela's back, things are back.
It'd be nice to streamline the process somehow, and that's for staff to figure out. I mean, it shouldn't take a month, quite frankly, to issue these checks.
What the hell are you gonna buy with that stipend anyway?
You know what I make in this committee? My goodness.
Oh, big deal. Whenever it comes, it comes.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Just
The Daniels.
the one thing on the training.
Tara was in charge of that, and maybe Ashley, is that you now? The training from OCA?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm not aware yet, but I'll follow up with Tara.
Okay.
I'll get some information for you.
Thank you.
That's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Next meeting is July 20th, Thursday, 9:30 in the morning. Motion to adjourn. Did you motion?
Yep.
Thank you. See you next month, folks.